All right, guys, well, it's been an interesting week with all of these electric cars. We've had the Mustang Mach-E extended range for quite a few miles, and today we did test the Tesla Model Y long range, and then of course this is our long-term standard range rear-wheel drive Model Y. So I want to do a quick video just to compare the differences between all of these cars. I think really the big takeaway is that the Mach-E is a really nice daily driver. The interior quality, the fit, the finish, the materials, I think have an upper hand on the Tesla. The interior space definitely isn't as big in the Mach-E. It doesn't feel as large. There's not as much passenger room, space underneath the seats to put your feet. But still, I think for most people's uses, this as a crossover is perfectly acceptable. There's a lot of usable room and practical space in this Mach-E. We'll talk about how the Mach-E drives later on in this video. But just for example, let me show you what the Model Y looks like in the back. So you've got a lot more room under the front seats to put your feet, stretch out. It just feels more spacious with the panoramic roof. It's a little bit taller. You still have a good amount of trunk space in here. And of course there's storage underneath and in the front in both vehicles. All right, let's hop in the Mach-E, take it for a drive, and sum up this week in all of these cars. Immediately, the Mach-E has a much more traditional interior as opposed to the Teslas. This feels more familiar. The infotainment isn't as nice as the Teslas, I don't think. It's not organized as well. It's a little bit more sluggish. This Mach-E has been a fantastic car to drive on the street these last few days. It's comfortable. It has a good amount of range. We've been seeing at least 230, 220 miles of range. Worst case scenario from this Mach-E. For some more specific data on this Mach-E's range, check out Charlie's channel, Daily Motor. But for the most part, this 88 kilowatt hour battery really does have impressive range. It's rated for 270 miles. I don't think you'd have any problem getting that if you were doing a lot of city driving with a little bit of highway. Especially in warmer temperatures. It's climbing up a little bit this week. It's around 55 degrees. We noticed a pretty sizable increase in that range once the temperature went up above 50 degrees. Performance-wise, this is a fantastic car. It's definitely more comfortable on the street. Not maybe as exciting to drive on the limit as the Teslas, but as a daily driver, the ride quality here is much better. The NVH is much improved over the Teslas, and it just feels like a better built product. There's not as many rattles, not as many creaks throughout the cabin. It's a really nice overall package. We did do a brief track test here at M1 Concours in Pontiac, Michigan, and if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check it out. We kind of sum up the thoughts between the two cars, or actually the three cars, to see how they do on track, and it's interesting to see how they perform. This Mach-E at the limit is a very good car to drive, but the Teslas are just a little bit sharper, a little bit tauter. The power seems to last longer, maybe a little bit different battery cooling system in the Teslas versus this Mach-E. But all said and done, you kind of can't go wrong with an electric vehicle with a low mounted battery, low center of gravity. You definitely feel the extra weight in this Mach-E. This is almost a 5,000 pound car. It's really heavy. So there's no hiding that weight, but Ford has done a pretty good job with it. And of course, this is not the Mach-E GT. It's just your standard premium, meant for comfort, luxury, daily driving. I'm very excited to see what Ford does with the GT trim in this car. I think this is a really, really good starting place. And if you just need a basic car to do basic things and you're not going to be tracking it, there's no reason to buy the GT over this premium. There's some things that this Mach-E does do better than the Tesla. For example, the regen for one pedal driving is immediately pretty full and pretty strong. And the Tesla takes a lot of miles, especially with a cold battery, to get that regen up to temp and to really put that energy back into the battery off throttle. So it's interesting. This Mach-E, you can one pedal drive pretty much out of the box, whereas the Tesla, you have to use the brake pedal a little bit more until you get some heat into the battery. Also, this Mach-E, I kind of prefer the driving assist systems. The radar cruise control is a little bit more intuitive, and the lane keep assist is very nice because it doesn't beep and bong at you all the time. All said, I think they're about even, but the Mach-E is just a little bit more user-friendly, and I like using these systems a little bit better than in the Teslas. Great ergonomics in this car. Some of the menus are a little bit deep, but honestly, once you have these cars set up to your preferences, it's not as big of a deal. The screen takes some time to load occasionally. Some menus are a little bit more sluggish than I would like. But this definitely feels like a much more normal car to drive and live with and use. The user interface is very familiar in this Mach-E, which I do appreciate. Honestly, this is one of the nicest Ford products I've ever driven in recent years. They've really done a nice job with this car. The fit, the finish, the materials, everything in here is just very nice to look at and to touch. But yeah, this is a pretty decent overall car, and it would be at the top of my list if I were out there looking for an EV to daily drive and enjoy. The range is great, it looks good, it's new, it's exciting, it's it's a really good entry into the EV market. So good job on Ford for really doing the due diligence and the R&D on this car. I think a lot of people are going to be happy with their Mach-E's, and I'm starting to see more and more on the roads as this spring kind of plays out. It's definitely not as fast as the Teslas, but the difference in the real world is barely noticeable. Unless if you're drag racing on the drag strip or between stop signs, it doesn't matter. All things are about the same. You get that instant acceleration, instant torque. The Mach-E versus the standard range rear-wheel drive Tesla Model Y are about as neck and neck even as it gets. This versus the dual motor long range Model Y, the long range is quite a bit quicker, especially over 60, 70 miles an hour. This Mach-E tends to kind of fall off. But you don't really need power above 70 miles an hour really anyway, and this is still ample acceleration for everyone's needs. This is a quick car. There's not much that would touch this in the stoplight or drag races, just because of the torque and the immediate power that it puts out. Of course, for more detailed thoughts on this Mach-E, I would head over and check out our full review on this car. The Bang & Olufsen sound system is very nice. Did a pretty lengthy sound test at the end of my Mach-E video on this. It sounds great. It really puts out nice audio. Maybe not as nice as the Tesla's premium audio and the Model Y, but I'm pretty impressed with it nevertheless. Ford's done a nice job tuning it, and I think it feels about like a $50,000-$60,000 sound system. And the rest of this car really hits the mark. I mean, it's just so nice to drive an electric car every day. I can't express. I think these cars are ready for prime time. I mean, you get into this Mach-E, and if you have 240 charging in your garage at home, you get in every day with a full battery, and you have 270 miles of range, best case scenario. I think, if you want more range than that, you're going to be probably needing an internal combustion car, because you're going to be driving so many miles every day or doing long road trips that an electric car just isn't going to be feasible. This Mach-E does not have a great charging network. It needs some work, but it's only going to be getting better with time. The software to find chargers, the apps to find chargers, the number of chargers all of those things are only going to improve with time. And right now, I think Tesla has the Electrify America and the rest of the charging network, non-Tesla charging network beat, but who knows how long that'll last. I'm sure it's going to be kind of a neck and neck thing, and we'll see how it plays out. But as it sits, you can definitely drive these cars long distance. It just takes a little bit longer between destinations. So I think, though, for a daily driver, everything within a couple 100-mile radius of your house, if you can charge up to full every night, you are going to be in great shape in a car with 250 miles of range or more. And this long-range 88 kilowatt-hour battery pack is probably worth the extra money just for that extra usability. If you're not going to be doing a lot of long-distance driving, you're mostly in the city, then maybe you could save a few bucks and not swing for that. But this is a heavy car, and it's not as efficient as the Teslas. It doesn't have the same drag coefficient. It's got extra weight. It tries to make up with that a little bit with a few aero tweaks here and there, but ultimately this does not get the same level of efficiency as the Model Y does. And you feel that, you notice that. But the battery pack makes up for it, and you do have just a little bit more charging time. But again, if you can charge up on 240 every night in your garage or at home or at your apartment or at work, you're going to be in great shape with an electric car. And the benefits of daily driving something like this that's quiet, that's smooth and comfortable, and that you can preheat in the morning and kind of integrate with an application on your phone is pretty cool. So I have really enjoyed daily driving this. It makes everything else kind of feel like a little bit of a dinosaur, and the tech and the other features are only going to improve with time. So I think that'll sum up the Mach-E for me this week. It's been very interesting comparing the two. I'd be kind of hard-pressed to choose between this or a Tesla. I think ultimately it kind of depends on what you prefer and what brand image you want. Both have a lot of controversy surrounding them, but I think if you just want a good car, you kind of can't go wrong with either option. Tesla definitely has some cooler features and neater things that they've integrated into their vehicles, like just some of the stuff within the software, like dog mode and various cool things in the infotainment where you can watch Netflix or YouTube while you're charging, and of course the Charge Network. But this Mach-E also takes advantage of some cool features as well. I would like Ford to push the envelope a little bit more with these electric cars. There is a lot you can do with them, and again, hopefully they will add features with time and software updates. Okay guys, that's it for this one. A lot to talk about between these two cars. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more already on top of what I've filmed, which has been a lot, check out Daily Motor on YouTube and Winding Road Magazine's YouTube channel, where we just have the driving experience between these cars. No chatting, just driving and electric sounds. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later. Take care.